I do, of course, realize that you can't just make your point. We're talking about gangsters like UW Dialectical. They will recycle refusal to admit anything evidentiary. For example, there's a neurotrauma in my facial nerve. It was implanted to make it very difficult for me to resist from terror and neurocompulsion, verbal commands by the Zionists who did it to me when they're ordering me around after torturing me. I've said that many times, and decades have gone by and nobody's acknowledged it. So one doesn't expect the wriggling finger of the parochial savage to stop wriggling. But as a deaf person, if you look at Children of a Lesser God, there's a scene where the woman who's been driven into fury by her condition as a deaf woman and the way people refuse to dignify her, where she talks about just knocking boys all the time because it was the one thing that made them acknowledge her. You would think once I explained, I'm not doing like this here to the parochial savage. People do get together and break up, and sometimes it's just lifestyle adjustments. I'm not belaboring people for their lifestyles. But you would think when I explained that at least I was being trafficked by a pornographic genocide ring, but at least I got evidence for it and proved it. And there are people, the Nazis, from the left and the right, are all in place to say, ha ha ha, you deserved it, ha ha ha, you deserved it, we should kill you, we should inject you, we should... At least I got the evidence, is what I say to my legitimate peers in professional schools of investigative science. The criminally insane thing that the juveniles in the NAACP and the Green Party and UW Dialectical and the Seattle Left and the Trumpy Two MAGAs are pulling and doing and waving the flag of Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. Yeah, Zappa, Moon Zappa doesn't like you. Moon Zappa doesn't like you is a smokescreen to cover for the fact that while I was being trafficked, I couldn't escape. I didn't really know what was going on, but at least I got evidence that this was an act of genocidal torture by a gang that should be investigated and apprehended and prosecuted. In other words, at least I did my dignity duty to try to warn people and produce the necessary and sufficient evidence that this is the case. You would think that a place like the state of Washington would say he's been victimized. This needs to be investigated. But they don't. They say, yeah, we'll stick you, yeah, yeah. And that's Jay Inslee's Olympia. That's what they're all doing here. They're murdering bystanders. They attack people with axes and they say, my Taliban or your Taliban. My ephemeral association is better than your ephemeral association. We're not talking about ephemeral associations. We're talking about proof of a pornographic genocide ring. And they're too maniacally obsessed with the ego logic and juvenile ideas of what happens to people who are in poverty-stricken, disabled, and being trafficked to do anything rational, meaningful, or right about that. And guess who's backing them up? Kamala Harris, David Jeffen, Mick Jagger, Penis Gabriel, Robert Fripp, Carnegie Mellon, Evan Nauer, Vince Irini, and Martin Sheen. Greta Thunberg's going to be on that roster too, man.